Good morning. How's everybody doing this morning? Awesome. Good to see you guys here. They just introduced me, but just to do it twice, I'm Sam Gray. Familiar with a lot of you guys here, but those of you I'm not, some of the new faces here. I'm the purchasing manager here, so all of the, the parts and pricing and stuff like that comes to me. So I started here almost 5 years ago. Really had zero experience in the industry here, so a lot of what I'm showing you guys this morning is stuff that I've learned the hard way. So I'm excited to share this information with you guys to help you guys learn about hardware and more about the industry. So I'm going to talk this morning specifically about hardware finishes, and it's a huge thing with ordering hardware, especially from the purchasing side. I've had a lot of struggles with that, and again, trial and error. I've learned a ton about this kind of thing and over my time here. So I want to kind of show you guys how we can help you guys identify hardware finishes and why it's important. So can anybody tell me what finish this is?
Brushed. Yeah, brushed metal.
Brushed metal?
Stainless.
Stainless? Okay, cool. So, and I can touch on that in a second, but basically just want to tell you guys that hardware finish is really important, and I guess the biggest thing is that there's so many variations in hardware, and so a lot of the struggles come from, something like this is brushed metal, and so, who says that's brushed metal? What says that lock right there is brushed metal, and who can I order brushed metal locks from, etc. So first thing is, what do I mean when I say hardware specifically? I'm talking about everything from a lock, a hinge on a door closer. We have pulls on this door back here. Anything on that door, that's what I mean when I say hardware. And finish, I'm specifically talking about the color of the lock, and that's really what I want to delve into today. So the reason that's important is because in my experience, that's probably the biggest struggle we've had with parts returns, return trips, stuff like that, is we did not specifically figure out what finish was on the lock, and it completely messed up the job. And it's very important because there's building standards. I'm sure a lot of you guys are very familiar with building standards. And that is huge it has to be this finish, it has to be this quality, it has to follow these guidelines. And so that's a big part of us being able to identify that. And when we can identify that quickly and all speak the same language, it makes everybody's job easier. There are two organizations. One is the American National Standards Institute, also known as ANSI, and the second one is Builders Hardware Manufacturer Association, or BHMA. Now ANSI is more towards consumers in general, so it's not just hardware, but they both kind of work together. Builders Hardware Manufacturer is obviously specifically related to security hardware. And so they kind of came together to make a system to create a guideline and organize standards for whether it's finish or quality of the lock, etc. There's a huge, vast number of things that they actually do together to create standards, but we're specifically going to talk about finishes today. So this is really, if you ask where does this system come from, these are two companies that are solely devoted to creating standards for us to follow. And this is huge because when we're creating building standards, we need to be able to, number one, know what our standard is, and number two, communicate it to others what we're needing. So that's really big, and it helps everybody be on the same page, whether you're a tenant or a supplier or you're a property manager. So they have created a set of codes, and we'll get into some of those later, and I'll provide you guys with a lot more information on that. But they have created a set of codes, 3-digit codes, just numbers, that identify a finish. And that helps me know exactly what you're talking about when you tell me what finish you need. If you have a code, then there's no question of what finish you have. Whether you're saying silver or gold or dark bronze, if you can give me a number code, I know exactly what you need. And that's hinges, locks, door closers, cabinet locks, etc. All of that is given a system of codes from these two organizations. So it helps us to establish building standard, and it helps us as well as providing you a service by matching what your building standard is. And you don't have to, you can be confident that we are matching what, just kind of pass that around. It'll show you a lot of different things there. Here we have flat black. It's not a very popular finish, but anytime you need black, you can see there's a 3-digit code here, 622. And that's your code for flat black. Dark bronze clear coat is another. It's not super popular, but it's definitely out there. These are two of probably the most popular ones we're dealing with. Bright chrome and satin chrome are huge. This is actually satin chrome. The code is 626. Probably, I know you guys have seen this pretty much everywhere. It's one of the most common commercial finishes that is out there. The interesting thing is it's the exact same finish as the bright chrome. It's just, as you guys have described, it's brushed. They apply a brush to it to make that finish. And that the hardware on this glass door behind you here is a bright chrome, just to kind of give you an idea. And there's a bright chrome swatch on that display as well. So one thing that kind of shows you how easy it is to be off, these are the exact same color. They're both silver, but one is a polished look and one is a brushed look. So that's a really huge deal when trying to figure out what you're needing. And another really popular one, I'm sure you guys have seen bright brass out there. And I've actually got there's two on there, but I've got two cylinders here. And these, especially from far away, look very similar. They're the exact same color, but one is a satin brass, like a brushed, and one is a bright brass. So it's really a huge deal, especially when matching building standards. And I don't know if any of you guys have bright brass in your buildings, but it's something that we need to focus on. And we've got some antique brass, which gets kind of tricky in there. It's not a super popular, but it's just a little bit darker than a regular brass. Satin brass blackened. That's what you'll see. I don't know if you guys have seen like a really dark, almost black on a residential house. This is probably the most popular finish out when you're in a residential property. That's the dark bronze that's used, and it doesn't show it here, but there's kind of a bronze hue on the edge of the satin brass blackened. Then there's a bright bronze. That's pretty popular in some buildings, or excuse me, not bright bronze, but satin bronze. But the bright bronze is kind of a more orangish look, and here's the satin bronze. Now this is oil rubbed bronze. Is probably one of the most common commercial dark bronze finishes. I don't know if anybody has. And then bright nickel and satin nickel. And now this is probably the most confused with satin chrome here. This is more of a residential finish, but you wouldn't believe how many times we've went out to a residential house with a 626 brushed chrome in, and satin nickel is what's generally more used in a residential setting. It's a little bit, it really doesn't look any different when looking at one picture and another picture, but when you put them right next to each other, there's a completely different hue to it. And of course, some people don't notice it, but a lot of times we've had to return because we put a 626 on there. So that's a huge deal whenever you're dealing with building standards. So keep that in mind. And then 620 is antique nickel. Again, not as common, just a little bit darker. It's made to look more worn out. And also, that being said, or bronze here, 613. It is what's called a living finish. And a lot of you guys, I'm sure you have it on your building, but it's a dark bronze finish, and it's made by the manufacturer to wear out. It's made to look like it's aged. So you'll get it, and it's a nice dark finish there, and then by the end of the day it looks pretty close to that. And so of course that takes years, but that's how it was made. which they make a version that doesn't wear out now, which is a big thing for a lot of property managers. But that's one thing to understand is when you have an oil rub bronze, you might not be able to match up exactly because it ages. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And that's all that I have. I have some finish rings here that you can use. You have papers you guys can take home with you that identify, we just went over the numbers, but they identify all the finishes. But I mean, when you're holding a piece of paper up to a lock, it's a lot harder. So these you can kind of hold up, and metal on metal is a lot easier to figure that out. So I don't have, I only have a limited amount, but if you are interested in that, come see me after. I can order some for you if I don't have enough, if everybody wants one. But if you can use that, come see me after and we'll get it. Do we have any questions? Awesome.
Good job, Sam.
What is that?